Hello my friends, Mia DeBolt here, bringing you more transparency in trading. Thank you so much for joining me on day 4 of the FTMO Repeat Challenge, as well as day 4 of the Funded Trader Repeat Challenge. So today is Wednesday, April 5th, and I took my first trade for April, and I will be reviewing that in a second. However, I do want to share that I made a pretty profound discovery. So this discovery is pretty profound because it helps me to know when there's going to be a reversal or even just a retracement and what kind of day it's going to be. So it's based on ICT concepts, and it's something that I've already back tested on multiple pairs, and it's pretty reliable. So if you're curious about this discovery and you want to know more, then comment down below, I do, meaning I want to know. Okay, so comment down below, and if I get 20 comments or so, I'll create a new video because today is my last day of trading for this week. And so no more videos until Easter is done, and then I will be back on it. Okay, my friends, without further ado, let's jump into the charts and see what trade I took today. Okay, so this morning I actually was watching and anticipating the bullishness happening on the DXY, and so the reason is because we had a pretty strong retracement and we've been coming down. There is a volume imbalance here. We laid a candle over this volume imbalance and we retraced yesterday. So just because we dipped into this daily fair value gap, we're still in a premium and we do have more downside for the day. So I was anticipating more of a down day. Okay, so this is kind of what I saw when I jumped on the charts. We did have a lot of back and forth. We had a lot of consolidation overnight and yesterday in the PM session. And so that's kind of what I was looking at. And we're at a place where we had this daily fair value gap. However, there's more downside to be taken. So we already came from a premium and we're pushing down. So I started to mark up the buy side, the sell side, and that's kind of what I have on the DXY as well. Okay, so going into the 6:30 or 9:30 time frame, the New York Stock Exchange Open, we did dip down and we took sell side. So I moved my sell side down and we had this bearishness. So I was watching that, and we did have news both at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time and at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I was watching that and really anticipating the market to move down. However, I wasn't quite sure how much buy side we were going to take before we continued down. Okay, so when the market opened, I like to mark up the opening range, and unfortunately yesterday I missed a really great sell because I hadn't really accounted for the opening range to be sensitive areas to actually enter. So because it had already filled the opening range yesterday, I just deleted it from my charts, and that's something that I learned is just to keep it on the charts so that I have the opening range. I know what is being filled, what isn't. So even if it is filled, the high and the low is still really sensitive, and those are areas where I can enter. Okay, so as the opening range continues to get filled, I continue to decrease that green area. And so this is coming up to the 7 a.m. news. Okay, so the 7 a.m. news filled some more of the opening range gap, and it filled it up to the new week open gap, which you can see here. And so it pushed up and it went down, it swept both sides, so it was really volatile for a moment, and then it started showing some bearishness, so it's starting to continue to the downside. All right, so this is where it started petering out. It did take sell side, it took the daily low down here, and so this is where the opening range gap low is, and I also have the 50% of the range marked up here. Okay, so on the 15-minute, I'm just watching where that 15-minute is going to close. Is it going to close bearish engulfing, which it does, and that's another indication that we're going to continue to the downside. All right, so I have 50% marked up. I have the 9:30 a.m. 1 minute fair value gap marked up, and that's another sensitive area that ICT pointed out. So I'm waiting for this to retrace. It does look like it's going to go without me. However, I am being really patient about it coming back to the 50% mark. So I'm not really into this until it actually gets to the 50% mark. Okay, so this is where I have marked up the 50%. I have a red line here on the funded trader, and I have my trade all set. And this is a 1% trade. However, at the very last minute, I actually end up making this a 0.5% risk because I'm already underwater on both of my accounts. I'm thinking that this is just Recoup, and it's also NFP week, so it can be very volatile, and so I am just anticipating that. Okay, so let's play this and you can see exactly where I entered. So fortunately, I have the 5-minute breaker here, and it's also a 1-minute breaker. So the 1-minute breaker are a series of candles, and so that's kind of where I'm looking at this as the gap low, and that's a sensitive area. I'm really eager to actually enter there, but I'm really waiting for the 50% to actually be breached. So this is a really strong candle. I don't like the 5-minute bullish engulfing candle, and so this is the reason that I hesitate here and I don't enter where my actual entry is marked up. So I'm waiting for the confirmations that we're going to the sell side, and this 1-minute fair value gap is right here. It's being filled, and so this is where I'm waiting on this. So the 1-minute breaker, just a quarter tick, I believe, above this 1-minute and 5-minute breaker is broached, and then it also reacts from the top of the daily fair value gap. So it starts to make some bearishness, and this is my confirmation that we are starting to drop again. So actually I changed my lot size, so I changed it to 0.5% just because we had that big bullish push up, and so we're at a place where higher time frame we're definitely bearish. However, I am just making sure that I'm not taking my first trade and losing my first trade on 1% and then having to enter again on 0.5%. So, and this is where I can enter. So I'm waiting for that bullish candle to push up. I push sell. Again, I change this to 0.5%, and we have a 1-minute volume imbalance on both of these. So I push sell because that volume imbalance should keep price down. All right, so I don't even look at this entry. I don't even watch it go up and back. So I just start journaling, making sure that, I have all of my emotions down. Really, I have no emotion to this trade. I know that it's bearish, and that's really what I'm anticipating. And if it doesn't go my direction, that's okay. I'm only in this 0.5%, and I can always find another trade. Okay, so I'm just marking this up so that you can see kind of where I'm thinking. I don't normally do this. It's normally on my CFD, and I'm watching it on my MT4, but I just ended up doing it so that I had the visual. Okay, so we have a really nice push down, and it does start to consolidate here. So you can see how the CFDs are a little bit different than the actual ES. So the ES actually took the lows, took sell side, and the CFDs did not. So again, that's just the little differences, the little nuances, and the reason that I like to watch the ES as opposed to just trading the CFDs and just watching those. Okay, so we're going to be consolidating here for quite a bit. So I'm just going to fast forward this, and you can see exactly where this trade ends up. So initially my TP is this Daily Wick, and it's the consequent encroachment of this Daily Wick, and then it's also the consequent encroachment of the daily fair value gap. So I have that marked up. That is my TP initially, and so I do end up changing that because we do have an open range gap down here that's unfilled, and so I am looking at that. There's a daily low down there as well, and so I have my standard deviations all set up so that I know exactly where price might react and just really planning out my trade. Okay, so we do come up to 50% up to that volume imbalance and then start to dip down again. So there was a little bit of a retracement, and I'm really not concerned about that. I do trim my risk here, so you can see that my risk was up here and now it's down here, and so if I get knocked out, it'll probably be like 0.25%. Okay, so we're still consolidating quite a bit. Here's a daily low that was taken, so it's an old low, and so that's where it just consolidates, and I'm just watching and tape reading from here, just making sure that price continues to gravitate towards my sell side and towards my targets. Okay, so once we have a break of structure here and a nice bearish engulfing candle on the 5-minute and the 15, then I do move my stop loss to break even and then plus some. So it's in profit. Even if I get knocked out here, it's not anything that I'm worried about. And we're coming up to my actual first target. So I'm looking to see what price action is going to do here. And if it just runs through this and continues down, then great. I have my actual TPs on my MT4s a lot lower. I think I put it down to the daily low. However, I'm just watching what the reaction is here at the daily consequent encroachment as well as the daily wick. So that was my initial target anyway. And so I have 50% ready to go and ready to be closed out. So this 15-minute fair value gap, this was the initial target. I was actually thinking of taking a partial there, but since I was only in this for 0.5%, I didn't want to really take off too much because my initial target for TP1 was down here. So that's where I was expecting that to act as resistance, which it does, and it starts to gravitate down. Okay, so it's extending nicely, leaves a 1 minute fair value gap, and here's where I close my partials. So I do close 0.44% on the funded trader and 0.47 on FTMO. And the important part here is I'm in recoup mode. So recoup mode for me means that I'm a lot more conservative. I take my partials and my profits when they're actually given. So I don't like to hang around for a whole lot of retracements or anything like that. So I'm just watching this and making sure that price is continuing to make lower lows, continuing to make fair value gaps on the downside. And so this is where I'm just watching this and making sure that structure is supporting what I'm thinking as far as trading. Okay, so with TFT, this looks like I'm in profit. However, I'm still underwater with my account here because I started at negative 1.57 for the day, so I am recouping a little bit. However, I'm still underwater. And with FTMO, I'm actually above break even. So if I close this right now, I would have definitely been there. It's going into a 1 minute fair value gap below the consequent encroachment of the daily fair value gap. And so this is kind of where it starts accumulating. So again, I don't really want to hang out too long, so I end up closing this pretty soon and just closing out for the day. So you can see here my account for FTMO, I was negative 0.26, and I end up closing that when this happens. That 1 minute fair value gap was not resistance. It starts looking like it's starting to go up, and quite frankly, I am done for the day. So I'm going to close this out once that 1 minute fair value gap is dipped into and it starts to push away from that. So that short-term high was taken, and so this 1 minute order block is being respected, and so that's where I close it out. So 0.9% on FTMO, and I was 0.17 in profit for the day, and so my account is back up to positive. Yay! However, my funded trader account is still underwater, and that's okay because I have more trading to do. Okay, so that concluded my trading for the day. And so you can see that I took a small win. It was smaller than I normally would have taken had I been above the break-even point for both of my accounts. So I was being a lot more conservative today just because it is NFP week. And for the past couple of trading days, I actually have been taking losses for the first trade and then wins in the second. And I wanted to make sure that I was maximizing my trade and my profit. So I felt really good about that. I'm done for the week. I'm going to be celebrating Easter with my family. I hope you do the same, that you close out the charts, you take a break, and you just dust things off and you come back refreshed and ready to go next week. So just to look at my accounts, this is my FTMO account. You can see I am on day 4 and I am in profit. I have a little bit of profit and I did take a win today. So that win was a partial. So I took a partial here and then another partial, and I closed out for the day. On the funded trader, I also had a win today. However, it just brought me back up to negative 0.68 as opposed to negative 1.57 underwater. And so here's my 2 partials for the day. So I had a partial here and then I closed out the trade altogether there. So I am on day 4 and I have a lot more trading to do next week. I'm really excited to share exactly what my discovery is. So again, if you're curious about about the discovery that I made. It's pretty profound. I'm finding it very, very helpful with my trading. It's not something that ICT has really taught yet. However, I am anticipating that he might unveil this sometime this year, but I'd rather trade with something that's really powerful now rather than waiting for him to teach it. And so maybe it's in his core content, but I haven't gone through his core content. So quite frankly, I'm going to use it now, and I'd love for you to use it as well. So if you're curious about that, make sure that you're commenting "I do" down below and just say, I am looking forward to the bonus material that I'm going to be sharing. So I'll share that with you this week if I do get 20 comments or more, and I look forward to sharing that. All right, my friends, if you're getting value from this and you want to follow this journey from where I'm at to the 7-figure mark, make sure that you're subscribing below, and I look forward to bringing more videos to you like this. All right, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.